is actually on.
Yes.
Can we turn that off?
They don't believe us that it's on. I know it's on.
Can I drag
It's
them
hot.
down here?
Yes,
and put their
I
hand
know.
against this?
Trust me. Yeah, you guys
That's-
picked the hottest row by far, and I feel it too.
Why is this sweatiest guy here?
Okay, curvature tool. Let's slightly move away from the pen tool and try something new. The curvature tool, we can draw and edit paths quickly and visually. Yay! To create paths with smooth curves and straight lines without editing directional handles. Okay, so this sounds like a dream for you guys because it's everything you just basically said you hate. So let's give it a try. It is the next tool down in our toolbar, the pen tool with a little curve coming out of it. This is our curvature tool. All right, let's go back to our properties panel, and before we move on, we need to switch our fill from being white back to being nothing because we don't want it covering up what we're working on. And we also want our stroke to be plant green. So in your swatches, when you click on the stroke swatch, if you hover over them, it's going to give you a tooltip. So that far green on the right is the plant green that they want us to use. And they want us to make this 3 points. So we can change all this before we even draw our first line. No fill, green stroke of 3 point. All right, we're going to be working on this, I think it's going to turn into a cattail over here to the right of the swan. All right, we're going to click on point A. This purple point, this purple line is the one we're doing first. We're going to click on point A to start the process, and then we're going to go up to point B. Notice it's connecting in a straight line. This seems kind of weird. That's okay. Click on point B. We're going to go up towards C, but don't click on it. Whoops. How am I in the wrong tool? I'm like, why is this not bending? Hold on a sec. Z, Z, Z. I got to get the curvature tool. Start at A. Click on B. And now, as you start to move away from it, it bends. It knows it has to connect A and B, but it does it with a bend. So we're going to bypass letter C, and we're going to go up to letter D, and we're going to click and release our mouse at that point. Notice if we go off to the left or to the right, we're actively still drawing. We aren't done with our line yet. All right, we're going to come back with our cursor and go over the line between points D and C. So let's say that we didn't have this dot to dot and we thought that this was the shape we wanted, and then we thought, no, I actually want it to bend back the other way. I need to go and add something more to it. So by backtracking over this between B and D, when we get a plus sign, we can click, and that's going to add a new point. And then we're going to drag that new point that we just made over here, and you can move it up and down. It doesn't just need to be moved left or right. You can move it up or down to get the bend to go exactly how you want it to. And again, we're still hooked up to letter D. We want to be done with that. So the escape key gets us out. I would imagine command click would do the same thing. And just try to escape at that point. Okay, let's go and do the next one over. So we're going to start at point A, click once, going to go up to B, then to C, and then to D. And we don't need to go back and do any modifying because we did all the letters right in order. And then escape to get out of that mode. All right, so we just drew some squiggly lines without having to worry about directional handles. We added points and we moved them in and we moved them up and down on the existing line to make them bend the way we wanted them to bend. So this curvature tool, the one that we're using, can be used to create new paths like we just did, making these two, and it can edit any type of path that you create with any drawing tool. All right, let's go to artboard number 2. We're going to look at a leaf. Whoops.
And what layers?
We're staying in the artwork layer. What on earth is it doing here? I want to go into Artboard 2. All right. So in Artboard 2, the leaf, we're going to start with our Curvature tool. And we're going to click on letter A to start. We're going to move to point B and click there. And as we move away, we see that that is a curved line and we can eventually get it to bend the way we want it to. However, point B coming out of it and moving on is not going to be a round. It needs to be a hard corner piece to match this design. We're going to take our pointer back over point B, and when we see it, the cursor turn into, it has like a circle with a dot inside of it, we're going to double click on that point B to turn it into an actual corner point instead. So now you see as I'm coming out of B, I'm no longer in a curve, I'm in a straight line. We're going to click on point C, and we're going to move away to see that this is always acting as a curve by default. So even though it looks like a straight line that we drew in, once we click on the next point and move on, it's acting as a curve. That's always adding curve points. All right, let's go to point D. This also needs to be a corner point. The way we did point B was we made it and then went back and fixed it. With point D, we're going to make it the right way first. We're going to hold down the Option key, and the cursor changes to have a little slash or like a backslash next to it. When we get to point D and we see that backslash, we can click once. And then as we move away from it, we can see that that was indeed a corner point. We now want to just backtrack to point C. We're going to take this point and we're going to move it up and to the right so that it matches our dotted template. We have to move it almost all the way over to letter D to get it to behave correctly on that side. Do you see how I'm getting it to match the template below by moving it way over here? And then let go. So at least at this point it's behaving correctly. Now if we hover between points B and C, we see that when we're on the line we get the plus sign again. That means we can add a new anchor point. We're going to click to add an anchor point, and then we're going to drag it down and move it right or left on this path to get it to match how we want it to look. Okay, so we added the anchor point up here, drag it down, and if you need to drag it right or left, go ahead and do that. So we went back and modified the path that we were working on, but notice that we're still rubber banded to point D. We're still hooked up there. Now we're going to come to point A where we're going to finish. And when we see it turn into the circle at the bottom of our cursor, that means that we're finishing. We can click and that's going to connect that path. So again, that's a curve. So it adds the directional handles there that we don't even see. If we need to move this around a little bit to get it to behave better with our template, you can. So I actually moved the anchor point way over here, closer to letter B than where it started. So does that seem easier or harder?
Seems easier than that.
Easier once you kind of figure out what it's doing and how you can drag and add points. Okay. We are going to change the color of this leaf and we're going to transform it. Take your selection tool and that should select the entire leaf that we just made. We're going to go into our fill, and instead of being none, we're going to fill this with plant green. And then we're going to transform it to be way smaller than it is. So we're going to go up to the top anchor point and we're going to hold Shift. Come on. Shift is going to keep it proportional, and we're going to make it like this much smaller. Like make it a fraction of what it used to be. They made it nice and big so that we could draw it a little bit easier, but we're going to make it much smaller. All right, we're going to kind of repeat some things we've learned. Yep. It won't let you fill it. Selection tool first to select it. Yep. In order to do a fill, you have to select the whole object, so you have to use the regular selection tool, not the direct. And then shrink it down real small. And we're going to, again, do stuff we've done before. We're going to make a copy of this and reflect it. So with this leaf still reflected, go up to your menu and choose Object, Transform, Transform Each. And in the window pop-up that we get, we're going to do a couple of different things in here. Down towards the bottom right, we have Reflect X or Y. Let's turn on our preview first so we can see what's going to happen. Reflect X or Reflect Y. You can see the difference there. We're going to choose Reflect X. We want to rotate it, and the little reference point box that we have right here, we want to specifically tell it where to flip. Right now it's flipping on the center, and we want it to flip on the right middle point. So click to light up the right middle bounding point in that reference selector right there. And then instead of just taking the one piece and doing it to that, we actually want to keep our original piece and make a copy that does this. So we click on Copy instead of OK. And you just made a mustache. Ha ha ha. All right. With your selection tool, drag across both green leaf shapes to select them both. And then go to your Properties panel and group them so they move as one. And then fit all in the window. So Command Option 0. And we're going to drag these leaves over here onto this artboard kind of at the top of like letter D. We are now going to make a copy of that. So holding Option and dragging away from it will make us a copy of whatever's selected. So make yourself a, whoops. Make yourself a copy. And this one is going to go on this other piece, but then we also have to rotate it a little bit to get it to look more accurate. So take your copy and rotate it over there. All right. We also have a piece over here on the left that we haven't done yet. So I'm going to, while I'm working on the leaves, I'm going to make another copy of the leaves. So Option or Alt drag over here. And then I'm going to go and use the curvature tool and make this shape down here. So A to B to C. Oh, look what's going on. To D. Isn't that fun? And why it did that is I had a green fill on it. So turn the fill off. And then take the leaves that you made and bring those into position as well. Get that done, save your file.